Hello everyone, welcome back to the Hindu Explain series. I am Kushagra Goel. So having gone through the comment section yesterday, there were 2-3 doubts with regards to the Roshni Act, and otherwise there are two general requests which students have been making. First with regards to captions for the video, from today onwards you will be able to see auto-generated captions for all our videos, so that request is addressed. Second, with regards, we have started another thing on the videos from today onwards, and we'll be editing retrospectively with all the videos. We have added chapters to the videos. So, for example, if you want to look back at a certain topic, considering that this is in news, so that in the description box you will be able to click on the particular time at which I am discussing that particular topic and do the revision with regards to that. So let's say at the end of the month or midweek you want to revise certain topics, you will be able to revise them without any hassle from today onwards. Just click in the description box with regards to the specific topic and that will save your time. So seeing all your responses, it just makes us also all the more energetic and passionate to help you all and work a little bit more for you all. So with regards to that, now addressing 2-3 questions that students had for yesterday. Okay, one was with regards to what happens to the land that has already been taken over by previous bureaucrats or other individuals. So the government, the administration of Jammu and Kashmir has stated that they will take back all that land. So one, they will have to figure out what all is the land. Then secondly, they will have to submit eviction notices, and if people are not moving, then they will have to take back that land forcefully or whatever measures. Then second question as some students had was, for example, there are also people who were landless or farmers who have been given this land. Now that is something on an administrative level that the government will have to decide whether they will give back the land to these individuals or not take it from them. It's up to the government. The law is that if the land is previous to 1990s, it was a government land and you took it under the Roshni Act, your land will be taken back. That's the status quo. Okay. Now with regards to another specific doubt that one of the users had, that what if these people file appeals and the court decides otherwise. Now that is something that is a hypothetical situation. What if people are actually able to get stay orders from the government or the high courts or supreme courts? Now that is something the court order determines what will be the status of those lands. People who are on rent on those lands will also have to move because they are also encroaching. Now once you have stated that this land is government land, it is government land and government decides, and what they have decided is that they will take back all that land. So those are the doubts with regards to yesterday's video. If you have any further doubts with regards to the Roshni Act, put it down in the comment section for today's video and I will take it up tomorrow. Now on today's video again we will be addressing one of the farm bills, so stay tuned for that. Okay, now moving on with today's newspaper. So on the front page on the left hand side is a report which states that GST collections have been higher than they were in November 2019. Okay. Now this is something good for us because if GST collections are more, that means business is happening much more. Now how much of this is sustainable? Plus in the sense the report also states that, see, this is sustainable because previous month also we had collected 1 lakh crore rupees in GST. Now that is it with regards. This is just an update. Okay, these are not question points. Okay, so that is why updating yourself with this information is good, but not from an academic point of view. Okay, now on the right hand side there were talks between the government and the farmers yesterday. The farmers want the repeal of the laws, the government says it's not possible. So the government offered to form a committee. The farmers said no committees because they do not lead to any outcome. So the talks will happen again on December 3rd. Now on the right hand side there is another news with regards to Punjab CM Amrinder Singh criticizing the AAP government because in Delhi they have notified one of the farm bills. What is this farm bill that they have notified? The farm bill that they have notified is the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Ordinance. This is with regards to the APMC mandis. Okay, today we will be discussing this legislation. Okay, so stay tuned for that. Then On the front page, there is another news that the government has told us, which is that no move for universal vaccination. The government is stating that they will not undertake universal vaccination. That is, all the people of India, all the citizens of India will not be given the vaccine. This is the plan of the government as of now, that their intention is only to curb the spread of the virus, which means that if enough people are vaccinated in a certain group, then the spread of the virus will reduce, and that is the intention of the government. So primarily it will happen that people who are at higher risk, older generation and younger children will get the vaccines. Healthy adults may not get it, because the intention of the government is, or the government is only taking the responsibility of vaccinating these people, and maybe most of us will have to get ourselves vaccinated on our own. Okay, now this is the update. Until it is concrete, there is no, I am just updating you. Okay, now moving on again with regards to farmer protest, pollution and other things, nothing specific for us. Okay, and then on the right hand side you see November saw most deaths since the pandemic hit. It's just an update at how in Delhi there have been more deaths. Then there is this news, get mask in return for plastic waste. The New Delhi Municipal Corporation has started a program along with the United Nations Development Program. So that is why this becomes important, just to, from your general knowledge perspective, that this is a policy program that they have undertaken. What is the name of the policy? Plastic Lao Mask Pao campaign. So this is it. There are three information: who has started it, New Delhi Municipal Corporation has started it, along with whom, United Nations Development Program. What is the program? Plastic Lao Mask Pao program. Okay, that is it for us. Okay, then moving on the editorial page, there is some updates for you. One editorial we'll be discussing, which is the last straw of being further disabled. Okay, then I'll be updating you with regards to these three. Regional priorities, the SCO serves India's quest for geopolitical balance and regional engagement. So this is an update of what happened at the SCO heads of the government meet. Okay, now Prime Minister Narendra Modi didn't attend because, see, in the other members of the SCO, the Prime Minister's position is the second importance. Okay, they come second. First is their president. In India, the Prime Minister is the real head, right? The real power resides with the Prime Minister. Similarly with Pakistan. So those two countries gave it a miss. Prime Minister Narendra Modi didn't attend. Vice President Venkaiah Naidu attended and headed this meeting for us. Now this is an analysis to tell us that, see, SCO is helpful for us to retain our geopolitical interest, because India now is a little bit marginalized group with regards to geopolitical groupings, because SAARC is not something that is important, BBIN is not hitting off, plus we have receded ourselves from the RCEP. So SCO is one place where India can retain geopolitical interest. BRICS is there, but BRICS is having all the other countries, plus the countries in BRICS are not geopolitically closer, apart from, let's say, India, China and Russia. But they are three different countries of three different power players. So geopolitical influence happens on countries that are lesser powerful than you. So that is why SCO is important for us in that sense. Nothing academically relevant apart from who headed the SCO heads of government meet in India this year, Vice President Venkaiah Naidu. Okay. Now, slow progress, WHO must work alongside China to discover the origin of the COVID-19 virus. This is an article that states that how WTO has still not been able to trace how and from where the COVID-19 virus came into being. Now, this is the update that, see, with regards to previous viruses, the SARS-1, the MERS, the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, both of them were located from which animal they came to, how they became zoonotic, whether humans spread it. All those details with regards to COVID is missing. That is it with regards to this. There is no specific origin. The article states that it places a responsibility on WHO that you should be doing it. Okay. Now the main editorial talks about a more social well-being incident, like it's a self-development, cultural growth is what the subheading is. Now the intention of this editorial is just to tell us that, see, human beings are not monoliths, that they are not one community, and that as an individual we are in historically also have become from different cultures, and limiting individuals to one monolith, one religion, one country, that would reduce the growth of humanity. One example that I can give you is that when Europeans saw themselves in monoliths, Christian English, Christian Scottish, Christian French, that led to World War One and segregation of Europe and balkanization of Europe post the Ottoman Empire. If we see individuals in just one monolith, then it is causing more and more trouble. The idea of United Nations in general was also that, see, in human beings are common, and that's why we have to reduce conflict and work together. This is exactly what this article is also telling us, that see, we have to become together in the sense that cultural intermingling is something that is relevant and important for self growth. Okay, give it a read if you want to introduce yourself to a little bit of history with regards to India's cultural orientation and upbringing. Okay, that is it. Now moving on the op-ed, one thing is why businesses, barons, should not run banks. This is another analysis of why corporates should not be permitted. The analogy is that you don't hand over the keys of a hen house to a fox, even if the fox is a saint, because foxes are supposed to eat the hens. And if corporates are able to run banks, then we are going to get into trouble, because they are borrowers and not in the interest of increasing the banking system. So this is an analysis of this only. On the right hand side is no leverage for Biden on Iran, again because of the assassination of Fakreza, nuclear scientist in Iran, that Biden will have less move around with regards to Iran. Again, speculative, what happens, what doesn't happen, we don't know. Once we know, we will talk about it. Okay, then we'll be discussing this op-ed, winners who disappoint. There are 4 Nobel Peace Prize awardees that we'll be discussing today. Okay, now again on the political front, nothing of specific for us. One news is this, that low turnout in Hyderabad civic polls. Hyderabad civic polls, if you have been watching news channels, has been in news because it has become a very political event nationally. But the turnout in the polls has been as per how the trend in Hyderabad has always been. Hyderabad has one of the lowest turnouts even in Lok Sabha elections. Previously, the turnout in Lok Sabha elections has been less or around 50%, which is very low considering. Apart from that, there are other areas in country. We'll see that, for example, in Jammu and Kashmir, the polls are happening again for civic polls in Kashmir, but the voter turnout is as high as 75%. So you can see a place that is still troubled. People have so much hope in democracy, but a capital city of a far more developed city state has so less democratic involvement of the people, which is a sad news for us. We'll be discussing democracy with regards to an index today, which is here on the data point. I will be talking about it also. Okay, now moving on, there is nothing specific for us of relevance on the national news or the economic news. Okay, so on the international front also, there is certification of Biden victory in Wisconsin and Arizona. That means that he is now confirming his own, consolidating his point of victory as president-elect, something that the incumbent President Donald Trump has been questioning. Okay, now again there is a news that China and Pakistan have signed a military deal. Details with regards to this is not known. Pakistan, as you know, is a client state of China now. Officially, their economy runs, their government, their military gets all their funding from by borrowing from China. The people in Pakistan are becoming poorer by the day, but the military generals and the government is earning more and more by virtue of borrowing from different countries. Okay, now there is analysis with regards to the role played by Russia in the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan. We have been talking about it for long, so there is nothing to discuss here, nothing new. Economic front, again, nothing specific for us, just updates what growth is happening or not. Okay, and the test series, the ODI series between India and Australia will conclude today. On the last front, the Olympic rings are back at Tokyo Bay, which is the host city for the Olympics in 2021. They will still be known as Olympics 2020. and the Olympic Committee is hopeful that the Olympics will go on. Now moving on to the in-depth analysis of 2-3 things that we'll be talking. One is the editorial, that winners who disappoint, okay. So there are 4 incumbent prime ministers who were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. This editorial states that how giving award to the incumbent or people who are moving for political reasons or who run or work in a political seat or environment is actually not conducive, because once we give someone a Nobel Peace Prize, we think of them, the standard of them is, for example, like Mother Teresa or saintly. But you know, politicians are no saints. They have their own limitations of the political office. They have to have hard deals, and that is what it enlists. That these 4 have had a checkered history with regards to once they have been appointed. The reason why they are right now this is in news is because of Abiy Ahmed, who was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2019. So the first is 1991 Aung San Suu Kyi, the chancellor now in Myanmar. She struggled for democracy in Myanmar, but once she became the head, she has colluded with the military to remove Rohingyas, support violence against Rohingyas, not granted citizenship to Rohingyas who have been residing in Myanmar for centuries, okay. Then in 2009, Barack Obama was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2009, but in 2011 he enhanced the war in Afghanistan. There were more hostilities, more people died, the conflict is still going on because of Barack Obama's intention to influence the politics of Afghanistan. Then more checkered history with regards to the Colombian president in 2016, Juan Manuel Santos. That Colombia, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, but hostilities and human right excesses by his forces are in news all the time. And then there is Abiy Ahmed, Ethiopia, TPLF, the conflict with the Tigray National Front. He has been trying to remove them, the militias and a violence. There is a threat of a civil war now in the country. So this is the thing, that giving awards to incumbent can be problematic. Now why are we discussing this, or it becomes relevant? Because there are these incumbents who have been named here, and the Nobel Peace Prize, as you know, is an important award. So it becomes important from your section of awards plus person in news, okay. Moving on with regards to the editorial. Now the main editorial that I said we will be discussing is the last straw of being further disabled. This editorial talks about how under the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, a convention that is signed where India is a signatory, that means that India cannot make laws that are against the substance of this treaty, okay. Now with regards to that, to apply the treaty, India adopted a legislation which is Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016. Now why is this in news? Because Stan Swamy, a Christian, has been alleged to be involved in the Bhima Koregaon violence, and he has been charged under the UAPA. Why is it in news? Because he is suffering for Parkinson's disease, a disease notified under the 2016 Act, okay. For that he had requested a SIPR, and and that was denied. Or first the NIA, the National Investigation Agency, stated that they will decide upon it in 20 days. Without a SIPR, a person may not be able to drink or eat. Now 20 days, and then they stated they don't have the SIPR, and now the hearing is supposed to take place within this week, and then it will be determined whether he has been able to get a SIPR or not. So this article states that how even prisoners who are not even who have not been convicted yet but are treated in such inhumane conditions, denying someone the right to have clean water or ability to have water is something that is inhumane in its first sense. And that is why this becomes important, these legislations become important, because remember, when political prisoners such as Bhagat Singh or other political prisoners such as Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Patel, when they were put in prisons, they were treated with inhumane conditions in the prison. And Bhagat Singh's entire campaign and movement within the jail at Port Blair was about getting newspapers not being treated as other criminals because they were political prisoners. So the distinction of how you are determined and what conditions you are put through in prison has been something that was in question since the freedom movement, and even now the investigating agencies treat their own citizens, Indians, in such inhumane conditions, and that is what this act talks about. But from CLAT perspective, these two legislations become important and what they talk about. So they give a security and a right to individuals with disabilities. The 2016 Act talks about certain disabilities that are recognized and what kind of treatment should be given to them. Okay. Now moving on with regards to an index, okay, the Liberal Democracy Index. Don't confuse it with the Democracy Index, which is published by the Economist Intelligence Unit, okay. This is the Liberal Democracy Index. Who gives this index? The We Dem Institute. Where is the We Dem Institute? Department of Political Sciences at the University of Gothenburg at Sweden, okay. Now, on what is this index based on? 4 parameters: academic freedom, civil liberties, rule of law, and freedom of expression index, okay. And it has stated that India, freedom, liberal democracy, the rating of India has not been as low as it is today since the emergency time period. That during emergency civil liberties were curtailed, and during this time period the current government is being stated as responsible for reducing liberal democracy as per the index, okay. So what becomes important from CLAT perspective? The index, who gives it, when was it started, what is the rating, and on what levels are people judged, okay. And it states that, see, India's fall in democracy rating has been the 6th highest among all liberal democracies. Other democracies: United States, Brazil, South Africa, Russia, China, Pakistan. China, Pakistan, Russia, not a question because they are not really liberal democracies. They are sham democracies in general. Nevertheless, India being there because we don't have any emergency, it just tells that how liberalism and the idea of expression is getting reduced. So keep a note of the standards on which this is and who gives the index and from when it has been started. The institute was established in 2014, but they have retrospectively also analyzed the information. So that is it, okay. Now we will discuss the legislation, the farm bills that have been in news for a long time period, okay. So we'll be doing, there are 4 legislations that are in news, okay, 3 farm bills and 1 electricity bill, okay. The first one that we are going to talk today is the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act 2020. The link with regards to information on the board will be shared on the Telegram app, for which the link is there in the description box, okay. Now what is this legislation, okay. One, this ordinance permits farmers to shop, sell or buy their produce at any place apart or beyond the physical premises of the APMCs markets, okay. Secondly, what happens? APMCs are designated mandis of the government where MSP procurement happens. There are certified licensed traders who are there, and farmers can come, sell their produce, and then their MSP and all these details with regards to pricing is disclosed there. Secondly, the government imposes a specific cess at the APMCs. At certain states, the cess is now as high as 5%, okay. Then, thirdly, what happens is, why are APMCs in question? So prior to 1960s, when did APMCs came into being? Because what used to happen, farmers didn't have information, they were illiterate, they were unaware. So what used to happen, they used to go at different places, sell their produce and then come back and then realize, oh my god, what happened? The prices were so and so, but I got ripped off, okay. So the concept of APMCs came into being from 1960s onwards, that there will be designated mandis from where there will be licensed traders recognized who will not rip you off, plus the information of pricing will be disclosed here because everyone is selling their produce here. The pricing can be discussed, MSP can be declared, government will tell at what MSP we are buying, and then farmers will already know where this is, okay. But what has happened over time is, one, the agricultural market grew, the farmers as you know, live in remote areas, but the location of mandis has not increased. Even today, India has less than 5,000 APMCs, okay? The need is to have a mandi at every 80 kilometers, but today we have mandis at approximately 480 kilometers. That is a huge distance that each farmer has to travel. So that has become a limitation. Secondly, the cess. Why do state governments have started putting this cess? What happens is, initially the MPLADS scheme was not there. The government did not have any specific revenue that they could use to for infrastructure development, okay? Everything else was budgeted. That means specific employees, specific organizations in which it was there. There was no freedom for governments to actually spend money on day-to-day needs. If a new need has arisen, you need to get sanction from the budget and then you could spend that money. So cess became a tool for governments to spend money without the constraints of the budget, okay, and for day-to-day needs. But what has happened over time is that this restriction has become a little bit caging, is what the government is saying. So what are the features of this legislation? One, that farmers can now, a farmer let's say in Punjab can go to Tamil Nadu and sell his produce. This freedom is now there. One, also they can use online platforms to do it. The government's e-national marketplace, the e-NAM is which is there, okay. Plus now what will happen is that they can also get into touch with private players, cold storage, warehouses, other facilities will be available. They can contract these companies directly. Now what this happens, what this will do is, for example, if a farmer knows in this area there is surplus, but let's say in eastern India the surplus is not there, there is higher demand there. So I will sell my produce there. So this restriction is not there. Now they don't have to go to a specific APMC mandi, but they can go to wherever they want to. So these are features of the bill, that a restriction, what you can say an unstated monopoly. Monopoly is when one person has the right to rule everything. This monopoly of APMCs will be over now, okay. But what is the problem with the agricultural produce market committees? What are the problems here? One is the state governments. What has happened is this tool of cess has become exploitative, in the sense that now, despite your own produce, one, you may not get the best price, plus the governments are becoming intruding, in the sense that a thing that was there for major development of the mandis, now this cess has become exploitative. That means higher tax, that means less profit. Less profit means less money in the hands of the farmers and less money to spend on their own infrastructure development, because government is not doing development for farmers, and then they are also losing money by giving higher taxes to the government, and that reduces their financial wherewithal. So that is the drawback of the APMC mandis, one. Secondly, with regards to traders, now what happens is, one, the idea was traders will be there with regards to, if for example in a particular village you needed more traders, or you needed a trader who would be beneficial for you. Traders were supposed to be beneficial for the farmers, who would ensure that farmers get the best price. But now what has happened over time, because of the traders, that they became a cartel basically, that new traders were not given licenses and these traders became exploitative. One, they were not telling the information that was coming from the government to the traders, that at what MSP or what is the market price, and two, they were not telling the farmers what this price is and buying their produce at a lower value. So both hands are getting ripped off. The government is not getting the best value and the farmer is not getting the best price, and the traders are becoming exploitative by introducing entry barriers. That is, new traders can't come, so honest person who wants to ensure farmers get benefit and government is not ripped off are not able to enter. Secondly, the government, they also prevent honest information. What happens? Why do we, for example, you go to a shop and someone says that this table is for 20,000 rupees. You check you open your smartphone, you check it online, you are getting the same table for 15,000 rupees. So that is price discovery. You are able to discover the best price for you. But farmers are unable to do it because they are forced to sell their produce at these specific mandis. Okay. Then what are the limitations? Lack of APMCs. Now what is the problem with the system? The system seems all right, that there should be mandis where people are able to, farmers are able to come and sell their produce. Because see, the problem prior to 1960s have not been eliminated, right? That a farmer, if he goes to a faraway place, one, that is physically not possible for farmers because one, they are not that big, they are not rich. So the cost of transportation, then the cost to establish a market on themselves or sell the produce directly. It might seem okay, but normally for a farmer it's not possible. One, they do not have the tools. Two, they will not be able to know the market. Three, they do not even know where the demand actually rises. So the APMC system seems all right because they know that at this designated market I am going to get this designated price. Because let's say he puts so much money to travel to a different state and then there he is ripped off, or the market prices are not actually the one that he is able to get a profit for. So the APMC system was all right because you were getting a market closer to you. But that was not the case because the APMC markets were far away. And this need is still recognized, for example, in the report of Hukum Dev Narayan. It's a standing committee report that was tabled in the parliament, which stated that APMC mandis should have been there at every 80 kilometer per square. But they exist at 496. Almost 500 kilometers you have to travel to sell your produce, not even at the best price. Because one, there are less mandis, and two, government interference is constantly there. Interference by imposing taxes, interference in the committees themselves. Government have appointed members there, so they are interfering, and farmer voice is reducing because traders have their own interest and government has its own interest. No one's talking about the farmers because their voices are not heard in these committees. Okay, but then the new act says that you will be able to go and sell your produce everywhere. You don't have to come to an APMC. You can sell your produce online. You can enter into private agreements. You can get corporates. You can sell your produce directly to corporates. But the question rises is one, the dispute resolution, because even in this new setting there will be traders. Traders are not farmers. A farmer is different from a trader. A trader will be someone who will be registered on the online platform. They will have to go to the online platform and register themselves as a trader. Now, even if you can tell your income tax and you tell your KYCs, your Aadhaar card, all this is there, it doesn't protect the farmer directly. The interest should be of the farmers, right? But this question of traders is still there. The problem was with traders, but the traders are still there. And the farmer can only deal with the trader. They can question the trader only, right? And this is at the SDM level. The farmer will have to go to the collectorate. You know that there is only one subdivisional magistrate in an entire district, but there could be hundreds of farmers. If the trader has ripped you off, how will you come to know? How will the farmer go to the SDM again? That question still exists. Second, price discovery is still impossible for the farmers in the sense that, see, traders will tell I will only buy at this price. How will the farmer get to know what level or what is the best price? Because the farmer is not known to at what price, let's say, cabbage is being sold in Chennai. A farmer in Punjab doesn't know that. Or at what price actually Ashirwad is incurring to produce wheat for us. Okay. So the farmer will still not have security with regards to price discovery. If price discovery was a question, this is not ensured that within this act you are not certain that at what you are getting the best price. This discovery is not legislatively protected. So the farmer will again have to induce more knowledge with regards to himself. Then the trader farmer differentiation, something that I've told you, that farmer and traders are still different. Secondly, now let's say a corporate comes. Okay, this is something that former Finance Minister Arun Jaitley had stated in the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha also, when multi-sector brand retail was being introduced by the UPA government. In Rajya Sabha, he had stated that, see, what happens is, even in other countries, countries where corporates can enter with farmers, the governments are now spending hundreds and $billions of subsidies to sustain farmers. And in India, we can't do it because corporates still rip off farmers. Now, this protection to farmers still does not exist within the legislation, that they will get the best price. Or for example, in corporate matters, what happens? A big company will buy the produce and tell, oh, the produce is not up to the standard that I expected. They got the produce, didn't give the price, the farmer will have to go and file complaint at SDM. Can the SDM go and sue, let's say, a big company such as Walmart or Ashirwad or ITC? Maybe not. So these are the questions that relate with regards to this. The APMC model may not be efficient enough, but there are questions that these farmers are raising with regards to this. There is an angle of federalism also, which we will be discussing once we discuss the other bills, okay? Because there is a reduction of government revenue also here, right? That one, you are not able to get any more cess because over time APMCs, if they don't reform. Now the question is, more competition means that APMCs have to reform themselves. APMCs can reform themselves only when the government wants. But if the government is pushing for a new methodology of directness, why will they want to reform the APMCs if APMCs are not reformed? Now, all this tells us that APMCs are not the best thing, okay? That they are not the best solution, but they can be reformed only by the government. But if government is pushing for a completely new system, which is directness for the farmers, why will the government reform the APMCs? They will not do it. This is the question that the farmers are asking, that if you push for this, what will happen to the APMCs? Because you are now pushing for a completely new agenda. So these are questions that exist with regards to farm bills. We'll be discussing more these, but see, the idea of all this is what matters from CLAT perspective are only the specific legislation and who passes them, okay? This act, the features of the act become relevant, but the political analysis and economic analysis of it is not relevant. That is why we had not been discussing them on a daily basis, because from a CLAT perspective, they may not come. But because they might come, we have to know everything. So that is it from me today. If you have any doubts with regards to farm bills, put them down in the comment section. We will be covering the other 3 bills on each day. If you have any other doubts with regards to this, put it down in the comment section too. I will be very happy to address them. So thank you so much. That's it from me today. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and share it further. And if you are one of those who haven't subscribed to the channel, do subscribe to it and hit that bell icon so that you don't miss the update for tomorrow.